Everyone's asking the same question right now. Is Nipah the next pandemic? And I'm going to be honest, the headlines make it sound like we're about to relive 2020. But here's the twist, Nipah is serious, and that's exactly why you should not panic about it. Because the best way to stay safe isn't fear, it's knowing what actually matters and building a calm plan that lowers your risk of any outbreak. Welcome back to Charlie Survival. Today we're talking Nipah, what it is, how it spreads, what the real risk is for the UK, and how simple, boring habits can reduce risk for many common infections. Flu, norovirus, CV-19, anything that rolls through modern life. And in a minute I'm going to give you a straightforward outbreak week checklist you can copy, plus a simple home sick day protocol most people never think about until it's too late. Quick one, if you like calm UK realistic preparedness and survival, not doom, not cosplay, not American bunker fantasy, drop a comment right now so I know you're one of the real ones. And if you're new here, subscribe, because this channel is basically realistic survival for real places with real weather and real life. Alright, let's get into it. The real update, what's happening right now. First, let's set the record straight, because the internet is doing what the internet always does. The recent Nipah headlines you've probably seen relate to a small cluster in India that's been investigated and monitored, as reported by major health agencies and recent coverage. So far there hasn't been evidence of wider spread from monitored contacts in this situation, and that is important. No confirmed cases has ever been found in the UK, so if you live in Manchester, Cornwall, Glasgow, London, the odds of you randomly bumping into Nipah at Tesco are basically not the situation. But this is where Charlie Survival comes in. Even when the immediate risk is low, it's still a brilliant moment to build systems that protect you from the stuff that does circulate in the UK, and to keep your household stable if scares ever disrupt work, schools, travel, deliveries, or hospital capacity. Because when health scares hit, people don't just get ill, they get panicked, and I'd rather you be calm. What Nipah is, in plain English. Nipah is what's called a zoonotic virus, meaning it can jump from animals to humans. Its natural host is the fruit bat, or sometimes called flying foxes, and historically outbreaks have been recorded in parts of South and Southeast Asia. It was first identified in the late 90s during outbreaks involving pig farmers, a spillover chain where it likely went from bats to animals to humans, and sometimes human to human. And yes, Nipah can be severe, with fatality rates from 40 to 75%. That's why it gets attention, and why health agencies consider it a priority pathogen for research. But severity isn't the same as transmissibility. A virus can be nasty and still not spread easily. That's the key idea the internet misses. So let's talk about the only thing that matters for your safety: how it spreads. The 3 routes of transmission, the part people get wrong. Here are the 3 main routes. Keep this simple because it explains why UK risk is low, and also what actions actually help in real life. Route 1, contaminated food or drink. In some settings, outbreaks have been linked to specific exposure routes like contaminated food or drink. For example, raw date palm sap in certain regions, or products contaminated by bats. So it's not the air is cursed, it's often a specific exposure. Route 2, direct contact with infected animals. Contact with infected animals can also be part of the chain in spillover events. Route 3, close contact with an infected person. Person-to-person transmission has been documented, but typically with close prolonged contact, often in caregiving or healthcare environments, and exposure to body fluids. Here's the simplest way to think about it. This isn't known for spreading through casual everyday contact the way highly contagious respiratory viruses can. So if you're not caring closely for a sick person, not working in a relevant healthcare setting, and not in a region where those food exposure routes are occurring, your risk stays low. Now, here's the question that matters for you as a UK survivalist or prepper. If Nipah isn't likely to sweep the UK tomorrow, what should we do anyway? This is where we go from health news to survival strategy. The calm preparedness plan, 7 rules that lower risk for any outbreak. I'm going to give you 7 rules, and I promise you none of them are sexy, but they work. And if you build these in your life, you don't just reduce infection risk, you reduce panic risk. Quick pause, because loads of you asked me the exact items I use. I put together a Charlie Survival Amazon kit list with the basics, outbreak week supplies, blackout essentials, and the boring but important gear that actually gets used. If you want it, you can find the link in the description. Rule 1, don't confuse headline with threat. If you remember one thing from this video, it's this: your phone is designed to trigger fear. Fear keeps you scrolling. So convert fear into a question, something like, what do health agencies actually say? What's the transmission route? What would need to change for UK risk to rise? Calm people ask better questions. Better questions beat panic. Rule 2, hands beat heroics. The simplest, most effective habit for reducing spread of many common infections: wash your hands properly, especially after public transport, after shops, after petrol pumps and door handles, before eating. This isn't drama, it's just effective. Rule 3, face touch awareness. Most people don't get sick because the air attacks them. They get sick because they touched something, they rubbed their eyes, or ate a sandwich, or bit their nails. So rule 3 is a mindset. Your hands are tools, not food. Keep them away from eyes, nose and mouth. Rule 4, air is a tool, use it. Even if a virus isn't spreading like measles, packed indoor spaces full of coughing people is still not a vibe. So open windows when you can. Step outside when places are packed. Give yourself space around obvious unwell people. Distance and fresh air are ancient survival skills. Rule 5, have a sick day protocol before you need it. This one is massive. Most households have no plan for what happens if someone gets properly ill. So here's a simple general sick day household routine that helps reduce spread of common bugs. The 5-part sick day protocol. Separate space if possible. One room becomes the rest and recover room. Separate towels, cups and cutlery. Ventilation. Crack a window regularly. High touch cleaning. Handles, taps, phones, remotes. Carer hygiene. Wash hands after contact, avoid face touching, and use basic barriers for cleaning tasks if needed. And listen, if symptoms are severe, unusual, or you're worried, don't DIY it. Follow NHS guidance and get medical help. Rule 6, don't wait for the rush. Build an Outbreak week kit. This is the prepping part you'll actually use. Your Outbreak week kit isn't a medical kit and it doesn't prevent any specific disease. It's practical supplies that help you stay hygienic and comfortable if illness hits your home. It's basically soap plus alcohol, hand gel, disinfectant wipes and spray. Tissues, a thermometer, basic over-the-counter items you normally use, bin bags, gloves for cleaning tasks, a few masks for situations where you're caring for someone unwell, or if you're in a packed indoor space and want an extra barrier. The point isn't fear, the point is you don't have to join the panic queue. Rule 7, prep for disruption, not apocalypse. The biggest UK impact of health scare session is usually not Hollywood. It's staff shortages, appointments delayed, deliveries slower, schools sending kids home, people acting weird in public. So the calm prepper plan is keep your basics topped up, have a small buffer, keep life stable. That's how you win. Alright, now I want to answer the question your brain is still asking. Okay, Charlie, if it's low risk now, what would need to change for it to become a bigger issue? Let's talk about that calmly. What would have to change for UK risk to rise? There are a few sensible watch points, not conspiracy, just reality. Watch point 1, sustained human-to-human chains. If you start seeing confirmed sustained transmission beyond close care settings, that's when agencies treat it more seriously. Watch point 2, importation via travel. The most likely route into Europe would be infected travellers, but as things stand, agencies describe Europe's risk as very low. Watch point 3, evidence from investigations. Health agencies look at genetic sequencing, clusters and exposure routes. If evidence stays small clusters, contained, risk stays low. If evidence changes, guidance changes. Here's how you handle that without losing your mind. You don't guess, you don't doom scroll, you follow credible updates. And you keep your calm prepper plan running in the background, because the plan doesn't change every time a headline does. That's the whole point. The big payoff, why this matters even if Nipah never reaches the UK. Here's the real reason I'm making this. Most people think prepping is tins and torches, but survival is actually routines. Hygiene, community, calm decision making, and not being the person who loses their head when everyone else does. Health scares are the perfect example, because when people panic, they buy the wrong things, they spread misinformation, they overwhelm services, they act like idiots in public. Whereas if you're prepared, you don't rush, you don't fear spend, you don't spiral, you just live your life with a bit of resilience. That's the Charlie Survival version of preparedness, not fear, capability. So let's wrap this up. Nipah is a serious virus that can cause severe illness, and it's on health agencies' radar. But right now the situation being reported looks contained, and the risk to the UK public is very low. And the real takeaway is not panic about Nipah. The takeaway is build a calm plan that reduces risk for many outbreaks. Hands, face touch control, fresh air, a simple sick day protocol, an outbreak week kit, a buffer against disruption, and a brain that doesn't get hijacked by headlines. Now, if you want the exact basics I recommend, check the Charlie Survival Amazon kit list in the description. I'm constantly updating the kit in the list. If you got value from this, smash the like button and comment below so I know you watched till the end. And subscribe for more UK preparedness and survival. Now, watch this video on screen all about the Northern Lights appearing in the UK and how it may not be a good thing and cause more harm than good. Click it and I'll see you over there.